Amanda here. You're watching Booked with Amanda, and I'm here to talk books with you. Today I am back with my week 4 update for the OWLS, and I'm going to combine it with my final update for the OWLS because I finished every prompt for the OWLS this year. That is right, all 12 completed. So I will start with what I read this week, and then I will go on and let you know just a final total of everything I read and what they were for, and so let's just get into it. So first off, I read/listened to Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book was fantastic. It's literally the answer portion of interviews with the band, the Six, as well as Daisy Jones and those who were closest to them in the 60s and 70s, and just what happened with their rise and their eventual fall from fame. I heard this was inspired by Fleetwood Mac a little bit, or yeah, I guess inspired would be the right word, and I just loved it. It was so good. I had a hard time at first with the interview, just kind of getting into it a little bit. It was I guess hard in my head to hear the different characters because there are quite a few. I mean, there's at least like I think 15 or 20 people. So it was a little tough at first, but I listened to the audiobook as well as read, so I was listening and reading along, and that made a huge difference. The audiobook is just full of so many stars, and it was just so well acted. It didn't feel like someone was just reading a book to you. It actually felt like you could almost see what was going on. So I thought it was amazing. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. The only thing that took off half a star was the interview thing was a little bit tough to get into. So, but like once you get the hang of it, it's perfectly fine. And if you listen to the audiobook even and get a little bit of a distinction between the voices, it actually does help a little bit. So just to let you guys know if you're interested in the book. Next, I read Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and this was for Care of Magical Creatures. So this obviously is the second book in the Harry Potter series, and it follows Harry and Ron and Hermione through year 2 of their lessons at Hogwarts. And obviously at the end, there's something they have to overcome, and obviously it's overcome because there's 5 more books. So anyway, obviously 5 out of 5 stars. I love my Harry Potter, like, I'm not gonna lie. So that was the last 2 books I had to read for my OWLS. So reminder, I picked Hogwarts Professor for my career. Also, I'm toying with potentially, since I finished all 12 prompts, I am thinking that I might try and go for Alchemist. I mean, I've already started that, right? So I could potentially go for Alchemist in the Newts if I really wanted to. But the problem with that is if G keeps her format the same, to get Alchemist, I have to read 17 books in August. Which isn't outrageous, I suppose. I mean, if I'm reading like 12 to 14 books a month, then technically 17 is not a stretch. Plus, I can include some graphic novels in there, which would help out a lot. Or even some middle grade, or not picture books, but children's chapter books, which would help a lot. So I'm thinking about going for Alchemist because I feel like I just want to be part of the elite, and I feel like an alchemist is just part of the elite. Like, hey, during this wonderful, magical readathon, you read like basically every freaking book you could. Cool. Anyway, I have a couple months to decide since the Newts are not till August. So, but anyway, Hogwarts Professor was a subject you would teach, which I chose potions, defense against the dark arts, and then 5 additional subjects of your choice, which means you have to read 7 books in total, which I surpassed. So, starting with Ancient Ruins and going down the list, I'll let you know every book I read and what class I read them for. So first off, we have Alice, and that is for Ancient Ruins, a retelling. So basically Alice is about Alice and Her Adventures in Wonderland, but it actually takes place 10 years later, and you can check out week 1 or week 2 if you want to see what this book is all about. I don't want to go into too many details because then this video will be extremely long. Next we have Arithmancy. That's a work written by more than one author, and I chose Between the Lines by Jodi Picoult and Samantha Van Leer. This is basically kind of a modern day fairy tale where a girl who's obsessed with a fairy tale book tries to help the protagonist in that book, the main character, the prince, escape from the book. So it's actually very cute, very light. I would say more like a middle grade read, but it was adorable and I enjoyed it for what it was. Next we have Even the Stars Look Lonesome, and that's by Maya Angelou, and it's basically just a collection of some essays from her. I love her work. It's like sitting down for some sweet tea with your friend's grandma or something, and she's telling you all these stories about her life. She doesn't really have a lot of filter, but enough filter that it's not vulgar or anything, but the stories are very good and I really enjoy them. Next we read, me and my multiple personalities, I guess. We read Care of Magical Creatures. That's a land animal on the cover. And for that, as I mentioned, I read Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Harry Potter, year 2. So, next up we have Charms. That's an age line charm, and I was reading an adult book. And for that, I read Women Talking by Miriam Taves. And that's just about a colony of Mennonite women who are deciding whether they should stay or go after something terrible happens to them. And that was actually pretty good. Next I read The Roanoke Girls from Amy Engel, and that was for Defense Against the Dark Arts. Reducto is a book that starts with the letter R. So The Roanoke Girls, I hated this, so I'm not going to go into it. You can watch my video for week 1. I think I read it. So next, Divination, Set in the Future. So the book I chose was Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Basically set in the future where books are illegal, and I wasn't a huge fan of it, but lots of people are, so check it out if that's something that may interest you. I read that in week 3, so you can see what I had to say about that in my other video. Next, for Herbology, A Plant on the Cover, I read Do Not Become Alarmed by Maylee Malloy, and that was a book about families on vacation and then the children go missing, and like I was also not a fan of this. This was another week 1 book. My first week in the OWLS was just not a good week. Anyway, you can check out week 1's video if you want to see more about that. Next, we have History of Magic, and that's a book published at least 10 years ago. For that, I chose The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I did not like this, but it's part of my week 1 unimpressed video, I guess. But yeah, it's about a bunch of, I think it says it on the back, right? Yeah, not really, but I don't know. Bad things happen, but they didn't have to, and kids think they're more important than they are. This is like millennials before millennials were actually a thing, I guess. If you're a millennial, don't get mad at me. I am also technically a millennial. Calm down, okay? I'm allowed to say that. Anyway, I'm a little over the place. That's fine. Next, we have Muggle Studies, and that's a contemporary book. And for that, I read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I mentioned earlier what it was about, and really good. Highly recommend if you like contemporaries. And it was a little bit different than I thought. I didn't mention that before, but it was a little bit different than I thought. I thought it was kind of a love story, but not really, which is good. Because love stories, I don't mind, but like I kind of wanted it to be more than that, and it was for sure more than that. So next we have Potions, Next Ingredient. So read a sequel, and that I did Red Queen by Christina Henry, which is a sequel to Alice, because I flew through Alice and I loved it, and I just had to read the next book. Like I was supposed to read something else. I changed my TBR a couple times, but anyway, yeah, it basically follows after the events of Alice and just kind of the second part to what happens to her. So highly recommend this too. Christina Henry's writing is like something I really enjoy, so I'm actually very excited. She has a new book coming out in June. The Girl in Red or something like that. I'm so excited. I don't know the name. I'm a professional booktuber. Yay. Anyway, last but not least, we have Transfiguration, sprayed edges or red cover. I don't even think I have any books with sprayed edges, but I do have a red cover, and that I read Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, year 1 for Harry, where he finds out he's a wizard and attends Hogwarts for the first time, and it is just wonderful, amazing. Anyway, so my final grade is outstanding. I passed 9 or more exams. Therefore, I am Hermione. Pretty much. I am Hermione. I am not a Gryffindor, but I am Hufflepuff. I am the Hermione version in Hufflepuff. How about that? Anyway, so basically, my options are open. I don't actually have to stick with Hogwarts Professor if I don't want to, because I've read all the prompts, which means I can choose whatever I want when the newts come, which I might keep an open mind to, because the prompts will obviously affect what I end up reading, as I am attempting a book buying ban where I will not be buying books until my birthday. So for me, that is 6 months from now. Yay! I'm gonna save all my money and I'm gonna go crazy in November. That's my plan. So anyway, for now though, I am reading 2 books currently. My beautiful husband decided to give me an early Mother's Day present. I guess my kids too, technically. They didn't pick it out, so I'm not counting them. They're little. So I got Kobo Clara HD, which is wonderful. The speed it switches pages versus my Kobo Touch 2.0 is just amazing. It's like literally going from the turtle to the hare. I'm not even kidding you. Anyway, as you can see, I'm reading Percy Jackson and Olympian's The Lightning Thief. This kind of came out, I think, after it was like cool for me to be reading middle grade stuff, and like when I was in high school, right, or even just shortly out of high school, it wasn't like a cool thing to do. So it was kind of a little bit after my time, but I decided to give the first book a go because it was available through my local library. So, you know, free, no obligation, just a little bit of my time. So I just recently started that, and I'm also currently listening to I Mom So Hard by, I don't remember their last names, but it's Kristen and Jen. They actually started on Facebook, kind of little webisode clips where they just talk about different things about being a woman and being a mom, and I found them like a few years ago when my first one was little, and I was like, yes, this is, yes, someone's talking about like not always the good things, you know. And they came out with this book in April, so I decided to check it out. So I'm currently reading that also through audiobook. Otherwise, I'm not really sure what I'm going to pick up next, because today is the 26th, I think, which means technically there's still 4 days till May. And in May I am participating in the Asian Readathon, so I want to prioritize the Readathon books before I get to my other TBR. So I'm not really sure. But anyway, that's enough for today. Thank you for watching. Please let me know down below how you're doing with your owls, because you do only have a few more days left. And I will be back next time with a just a regular weekly update video, because I think this works out more efficiently. We're not having huge, gigantic, lengthy videos, because honestly, I enjoy watching 25-minute videos from my favorite booktubers, but I don't think that I'm at the point where I am at the level where people would want to watch 25 minutes. So I'm trying to keep it short and sweet. Anyway, I think I've blabbered enough. Thank you everyone for watching. Have a great day and a great weekend.